Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to our webinar for Enable Rate History feature in Therap to address the rate changes. We're going to give everyone a couple minutes to come in before we get started. Awesome. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. My name is Shakita Davis. I'm a billing specialist here with Therap. We also have with us our another billing specialist, Tony Yen, awesome billing specialist that I'm learning a lot from. And we're going to go over the Able Rate History feature in Therap to address rate changes within the system. So we're going to go ahead and get started. This is our disclaimer. Just know that any information, support services, or advice related to Therap services and products is just for general guidance only. Make sure that you're taking care of your providers using the system is not taking precedence over required care. You can read this remainder of this disclaimer as you want to. All right, next we have our retention of rights. Awesome. All right, and here's our agenda for today. We're going to go over the enable rate within the service description code, the enable rates within the authorization, and how to apply this enable rate history to previous claims that have already been either paid or denied. As we're going through the webinar, if you have any questions, go ahead and post your questions in the chat. Tony Ann will be there to assist with any questions. Tony Ann, you can jump in at any time if you want, if you have a question that's relevant to what we're discussing at the moment. All right, so wait, we have a rate change. We got your back. So let's go ahead and take a look into the application. And I'm going to share my Therap screen. All right, so you have a rate change and the state has let you know that this rate is coming for your individuals that you serve for a particular service. And let's say that this rate change is starting in June 1st of this year, okay? So the first thing that you want to do is go into your system and go to the admin tab. Once there, you would navigate all the way down to your billing section. And you're gonna go to your service description code. And you're gonna click on list. This is where you're finding all of your service description codes that you have previously set up. And we're gonna navigate to that service description code that is where the rate is gonna be changed. And today we're gonna use day support group as well as residential to show how these changes are done in the system. So for our day support group change, we're going to click on the service and we're going to scroll down to this section that says rate history information. So currently the rate for this service is $15.84 per hour. Okay? But they said that starting June, they're going to increase this rate. So we're going to click this little checkbox here that says enable rate history. And we're going to add the new changes that's coming forth. So starting June 1st, we're going to put in our dates, June 1st, 2021, and they're going to give us an increased rate for a 2-month period. So we're going to increase that until the end of August, okay? And now our rate would be $16.25 per hour. So you're just going to put in that unit rate and click save, okay? So what happens after August 31st? Let's make sure we tell the system what to do. So we want to go in and add in another rate history that says after August 31st, which would be September 1st, until maybe the end of the year, or this rate is going to continue until whenever. So we'll just say until December 31st, that this rate is going to go back to $15.84 and click save. And my system is thinking a little bit. So now we have our rate history in the system. From June 1st, 2021 to 8/31/2021, we have an increase in rate to $16.25. After that, starting September 1st, the system knows to take that rate back to $15.84 until the end of the year, okay? And we're gonna come down to the bottom, we're gonna click update. And you're gonna do the same thing for another service. So the main thing about using the enable rate history within the service description code is that it applies to everyone. If you make this change in the service description code, everyone who has that authorization linked to them, every individual, this rate will apply to that individual. So you only have to make this rate change in one place. So we're going to do the same thing for this next service. Click on the enable rate history. But first, I need to see what the current rate is, 140.28. So they're giving us an increased rate starting June 1st. We're going to walk through that same process again, choose our dates. This also is increased for a 2-month period. And let's say that they increased this rate to 150.25. Okay. Click save. We want to make sure we tell the system what to do after this increased rate. So we're going to go ahead and add back into September 1st up until the end of the year. You can also expand this end date till 2099 if you know that this rate is going to go on forever. If they extend this rate or say no, that this rate is only going to go for another 2 months period, you can always come in the system and change your dates. Okay. And the system knows to go back to 140.28 at September 1st. And we're going to go down to the bottom and update. Awesome. So now we have updated the enable rate history for 2 of our service description codes, one for the day support group and one for the residential level 3. So now starting June 1st, when you're submitting your claims or doing your claims within the system, you automatically will have those enhanced rates for those 2 service description codes. Tony, and do we have any questions regarding the service description code enable rate?
We do not have any questions, Shakita.
Thank you. Thank you. So what if that enable rate or that new rate was just for one particular individual and not for everyone? So how would you do that? You go to your billing tab on your left-hand side, and you go to the service authorization and click search. And we're going to do this for Mr. Daniel. I'm going to click search here so I can pull up his authorizations. So the state or the MCO, the LME, whomever, says that, hey, Mr. Daniel's authorization for his residential is no longer going to be 140.28 per day. He's getting an enhanced rate or an increased rate for a few month period of a different rate. So you're going to click on that authorization, go to the section that says service and click update. And you're going to do pretty much the same thing. We know that his current rate is 140.28. We're going to come to the section that says rate history information. Click on rates, enable rate history. And I know that starting June 1st for Mr. Daniel up until the end of August, his rate is going to be 155.65. Okay. And click save. What happens if you see that there's 2 different sections in his authorization? One that's for his rates that's particular to him for 155.65 for this date range. But there's also another rate in your service description code that we just set up. This shows the history of what's going on within your service description code. But whatever you put in your service authorization supersedes what's in the service description code. So yes, we made a change for June 1st through August 31st for an increased rate of 150.25, but Mr. Daniel's rate is even higher. He's going to get 155.65, okay? I also want to come back in and say what's going to happen once September 1st comes. Mr. Daniel's rate, it may change to something totally different than everyone else's. So we're just going to tell the system what his rate will be. Let's make his a little different. There we go. So everyone else's rate will go back to the 140.28, but Mr. Daniels will go to 142.25 because he has an enhanced rate. This rate is particular to Mr. Daniel. Okay, we're going to go down to the bottom and we're going to click save. And we also want to make sure that whenever you go into your authorization, you also want to do the update button at the bottom to make sure everything sticks and is applied. Okay. Any questions so far on the how to apply it to the authorization for a particular individual? Tony, do you have any questions?
Yeah, no questions yet.
Awesome. So what happens if you have already sent your claims and they have been paid and the state comes and says, oh, we forgot to tell you, there's an enhanced rate or an increased rate that started back on May 1st, but your claims have already been paid. What do? All right, so in the system, we're going to come over to that billing section again, and we're going to navigate to our professional claim and search. And we're going to search for those claims that we need to apply that increased rate to. Of course, I'm going to choose Mr. Daniel again. It's my friend today. And we see that we have 2 claims in the system for Mr. Daniel. And both of those claims have been paid. So the first thing that we need to do so that we can increase his rate and send out these claims for that higher rate, we need to come into the system and mark these claims as billable. So this is for Daniel's residential support level 3. It was paid at $140.28 per day. And I want to come in and mark this as billable. Okay. I'm going to do the same thing for his other service. Go down to the bottom and mark as billable. What this does, it opens the claim up. It makes the claim live so that you can make changes to the claim. Once you have marked that claim as billable, you're going to go back to that admin section, or you're going to go back to that individual's authorization, and you're going to apply those changes. So for now, we're going to go to the admin section, navigate all the way back to that billing section where we did the service description code, go back and click on list, choose his service again. And that was the support group. And we see that we have 2 rate changes. Well, this doesn't include the one for May 1st. So now let's go and add in one for May 1st. We're going to add in May 1st at the rate change up until the end of the month. Mm-hmm. 17.25. I think I like the number 25 today. And click save. You're going to come down to the bottom and click update. One more step, I'm going to go back into that service description code because I want to make sure that I'm applying those new rates to my claims. Click on that. And now we have this pretty little button to the right-hand side that says apply. I'm going to click on apply. So this pop-up button comes up and tells me that, hey, you're getting ready to attach this to any claims that you have marked as billable. Is this what you want to do? Of course, because we just marked our claims as billable. So I will click on yes. And it tells me that 5 billing data has been successfully updated for the date range with an increased rate of 17.25. That's exactly what we wanted to happen. We're going to come down to the bottom and click update. Now I'm going to go back to that professional claim for Mr. Daniel. I'm going to click on billing, go back to professional claim and search. Go back to his claim. And I'm now going to go into a support group. Oh, that's the wrong one. Let's go back to the second one. And we'll see that now his rate has been changed for day support group. It increased into 17.25. Now that the rate has changed on my claim lines, I can now send this claim out as a replacement claim, adding in that TCN, ICN number, and resubmitting the claim. Any questions regarding how to apply, enable rates, update rates to already paid claims? Tonya?
There are no questions, but please, anyone in the audience that does have questions, please let us know if there's anything that you would want Shakita to review again, or if you have any scenarios that you have with rate adjustments. And this also works, and I'm sure Shakita may have had this topic coming up or something, but if it's not an increase, but if it's a decrease as well, because sometimes that does happen with the states that we work with, that not all the time do you get an increase, and sometimes you get a decrease. So if you need to decrease those rates and resubmit them, you can use this enable rate history as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
See any questions? We'll give you guys a few minutes or a few moments. Oh, here we go. Larry has a question, Shakita. They said, I have a new rate that I put in Therap. However, I only have one option to edit. I cannot apply the rate history. Please advise.
Okay. So Daniel, you want to make sure that once you add in that new rate, you make sure that you go back into it, because when I first entered that rate, and I'll go back to it. When I first entered that rate for Mr. Daniel for the new service, it didn't show me the option to apply it either. But once I went back into that actual rate, I was given that option. So you have to add it in first, then update, and then go back into the service description code. Okay. Mr. Larry, does that help you?
And while we're waiting, Jody had a question and asked, change in units, would that mean that you need to create a new service authorization? So I think he's asking if the units increased or decreased on the authorization, how you would go about doing that. So if you want to pull an authorization up, maybe we can show everybody on the webinar.
Absolutely.
Thank you. And Shakita, Larry said, yes, thank you. I will take that suggestion. So it looks like that's all his issue.
Awesome. You're welcome, Mr. Larry. So if you have new units or changing units for a particular service authorization. So right now, Daniel has, for his day support group, he has a total of, he was authorized 2,084 units. And it was within the date range of January 1st through December 31st of this year. However, it depends on what comes from your state guidelines and your state regulations. Some states, some MCOs, LMEs issue a new authorization so that they will discontinue this authorization and give a totally new authorization. So some of them will say, okay, starting June 1st, he's going to have an increase of units. So they will end this authorization May 31st and change the actual approved units to, let's say that they decreased this to 1150. So you would make that change within the system. And then you would click update. And I'm going to go back to list, go back to the authorization. You see now the end date is now 5/31, but they issued a new authorization starting 6/1. So we're going to copy this one. And we're going to start the new one on 6/1. And whatever date range that your MCO state LME gives to you, that's what you're going to enter in the system and say that his new units are now 3,000 units for this period of time. I'll click save. Yes, because I am using this method of data collection for another authorization that is still currently active. And I will click approve. So now in the system, I click on list, I see that he has 2 authorizations for day support. One is going from January 1st to May 31st. The other one is going from June 1st to December 31st. And there's 2 different units. And it just depends on what your state does, because they do sometimes tend to give you different authorization numbers when you have different increase or decrease in your units. Any
And
questions
Shakita,
around
just
that?
to, no questions
Go
there,
ahead.
but just to add on or ask if anybody else is on the webinar that has this, if they don't have that authorization number and maybe your state doesn't give you a brand new authorization, would you be able to show them how to just add those units instead of creating a whole new authorization? They just had the increase.
Absolutely. So let's go back to the authorization that was for January to May 31st. If they just gave an increase in the units, we would simply click on update, add in those new units, and we will click save. Yes, I know that we've already used this. We've already billed against this authorization. And now my units have been increased to 2,000, and I will click update. Simple enough, right?
And then Jody asked, in this case, would you change the weekly limits? Good question.
That is a very good question, Jody. So yes, it all just depends what is in that person's individual support plan or person-centered plan, whatever the case may be. So if they got an increase of units or decrease in units, then yes, we will come back to this section, the update section. And that's when we would come down to the authorized units per period. If they were getting 30 hours a week of day support group, but now it's 24 hours a week, that's when you will make that change. You also want to make sure you do your validations so that you can determine if you want to continue to bill without what's over that 24 units a week, or you want to only bill what you have set in your limits here, but you still want to be able to say, hey, I know that I'm only billing for 24, but we actually provided 30. So yes, you have the option to change your authorized units, your limitations, your units per period here, and you will click save. Okay.
Keep the questions coming. If anyone else has any other ones, definitely
Yes.
is active, and any other questions that anybody may have related to rates or authorizations while we're in here.
Yes, we love questions.
And if you all have any state-specific questions, we suggest to reach out to your billing specialist so they can help you and assist you with any rate changes, or if you have to do those replacement claims. Anything you want to add to that, Shakita?
No, you're exactly right. Make sure that you're reaching out to your billing specialist, because each state is different. Each MCO LME is different. So you want to make sure that you are doing it according to the state's regulations that's set forth. All right. Do we have any other questions, Tony?
It does not look like it.
As always, if you have any questions, if you're looking for different webinars or different guidance on different things within Therap, make sure you check out our billing resources page. Listed here, it is at help.therapservices.net /app/billing/resources. There's a lot of great information there that you can check out that will show you the enable rate history, the service authorizations, how to make those changes to your units, and it gives you step-by-step instructions. As always, thank you for being a part of our webinar today. I hope that you've learned something. I hope that we have been able to assist you with different things. Have a great day and enjoy the rest of your day.